Right as I am recording this video, 134 countries representing 98% of global GDP are building digital currencies. China's digital yuan just crossed $986 billion in transactions. India's e-rupee jumped 334% in 1 year. The IMF released a November 2025 policy paper outlining exactly how central banks will implement what they're calling the financial reset. This isn't theory, this isn't conspiracy, this is infrastructure being built while you scroll TikTok. And if you don't understand what's happening in the next 18 months, you'll be on the wrong side of the largest wealth transfer in human history. Your government is running something called financial repression right now. Interest rates sit at 4%, inflation runs at 6%. Every year, 2% of your purchasing power evaporates. You think that's accidental? After World War II, the US cut national debt from 106% of GDP to 23% in 28 years. They didn't pay it back, they inflated it away by transferring wealth from savers to borrowers, from citizens to the state. The UK dropped debt from 216% to 138% in a decade using the exact same playbook. Now global debt sits at 93% of GDP, over $100 trillion. What makes you think they won't do it again? Only this time, the scale is 10 times bigger. Financial repression has one problem. People can escape. You can move money offshore, buy Bitcoin, hold physical gold, invest in foreign assets. As long as cash exists, you have an exit. So why are they building CBDCs? Central bank digital currencies aren't just digital dollars. They're programmable money. Money that expires if you don't spend it. Money that tracks every transaction you make. Money they can turn off. The European Central Bank openly states they're advancing what they call a global euro moment to strengthen currency control. China's already running cross-border CBDC payments between Hong Kong and the mainland. Does this sound like a pilot program to you? This is deployment. Think this doesn't apply to you? Let me be direct. If you're holding cash, CDS, bonds, or any fixed income investment, you're the extraction target. The system is designed to pull value from exactly those positions. Your retirement account, earning 5%, loses purchasing power when real inflation runs at 7%. That's not bad luck. That's policy. And when you hear politicians talk about unrealized gains taxes, wealth taxes, property taxes, what do you think they're doing? They're looking for every asset they can identify and measure to extract value from. The only reason they haven't gone full extraction mode yet, they don't have complete visibility into your financial life. CBDCs change that equation overnight. If this is the first time you're hearing this side of the story, you'll want to subscribe, because I break down what they never teach you about money, freedom, and how the system really works. Every week, I'm exposing the mechanisms they don't want you understanding. Don't miss the next one. The wealthy aren't worried about this. You know why? They're not holding cash. Ultra-high net worth individuals keep 6 months of expenses liquid. Everything else is in assets that can't be debased by inflation. When governments inflate currency, these assets rise in nominal value. A $500,000 property becomes $700,000 not because it's worth more, because the dollar is worth less. The wealthy are holding the ruler while you're holding the thing being measured. Look at what sovereign wealth funds are doing. The Abu Dhabi Investment Council tripled their Bitcoin position in Q3. Not reduced. Tripled. To $520 million. MicroStrategy keeps buying every dip. JP Morgan's accumulating. These aren't retail traders panic selling. These are the people who move markets, and they're loading up while everyone else runs. Let me show you what actually happens when the system breaks. During the Great Depression, people in cities who depended on paychecks got destroyed. But you know who didn't? Rural families who could hunt, garden, and raise chickens. Helen Bolton worked on a farm in Nebraska and said her daughter never went hungry because they had canned meat, chickens, milk, and homemade bread. Urban families eating macaroni and splitting one meatball between 8 people had headaches from not eating. The difference wasn't location. It was self-reliance versus system dependence. The Depression-era motto was, use it up, wear it out, make do or do without. Families resoled shoes with old rubber tires and cardboard. They canned tumbleweed. They replaced toilet paper with rags. Sound extreme? That's what happens when currency collapses and supply chains break. Fast forward to 2008. The most common survival tactic was avoiding the job market entirely. Millennials flooded graduate schools and community colleges, waiting out the storm while racking up debt they're still paying off. That only worked because the system still functioned. Student loans were available, schools were open, infrastructure held. What happens when the reset comes and those safety valves don't exist? The Federal Reserve is trapped right now. Inflation's elevated, the economy's weakening. They need to cut rates to stimulate growth, but they're worried about inflation resurging. And the government shutdown created a massive data blackout. They're making interest rate decisions blind. FedWatch shows only 48.9% chance of a rate cut in December. That's down from 90% weeks ago. When traditional markets are uncertain, risk assets get crushed first. This is the squeeze play. Whether intentional or not, the effect is the same. Retail investors get flushed out, liquidity dries up, and institutional players accumulate at lower prices. And if the Fed doesn't cut rates in December, if economic data continues disappointing, Bitcoin could test 76,000 or lower before this ends. So what does Depression-era survival look like translated to today? During the Depression, people who survived well had skills. Plumbing, carpentry, painting, home repairs. A jack of all trades could find work when others couldn't. Today that translates to digital skills, remote work capabilities, multiple income streams. You can't just rely on one paycheck from one employer. During the Depression, people lived with extended family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins in the same house. They relied on community, organized surprise parties where neighbors collected food and money for struggling families. Today that means building your network now. Join communities tracking economic developments. Share information. The network becomes your early warning system. Depression-era families were considered rich if they had a cow and a garden. Today you're rich if you have marketable skills, hard assets, and zero personal debt. During the Depression, people learned to avoid debt because keeping a mortgage during deflation was catastrophic. Today it's the opposite. Inflation means debt gets paid back in devalued currency. But only if you're earning in assets that rise with inflation. If you're earning in wages that don't keep up, debt crushes you. Assets that protect you share three characteristics: intrinsic value independent of government decree, limited supply, difficult to confiscate or devalue directly. Bitcoin's supply is mathematically capped at 21 million. No government can print more. Gold increases supply by 1 to 2% annually through mining. Productive real estate generates income and appreciates. Shares in profitable businesses that control real assets. These aren't speculative plays. They're defensive positions. When monetary supply expands faster than economic output, nominal prices rise. You want to own the things rising in price, not the currency declining in value. Emergency funds belong in high-yield savings, but beyond that, cash is a wasting asset. If you're in bonds, understand you're lending money that will be repaid in devalued currency. That's a guaranteed loss if inflation exceeds yield. Tax-advantaged accounts can hold inflation-protected assets. Treasury inflation-protected securities adjust principal with inflation, though they only track official CPI, which understates real inflation. Real estate investment trusts provide property exposure without direct ownership. Commodity funds track physical goods that rise with inflation. For higher risk tolerance, Bitcoin offers uncorrelated returns and immunity to money printing. It's volatile, but volatility is different from systematic debasement. Volatility means price fluctuation. Debasement means guaranteed directional loss. During the Depression, people stretched dollars by buying multi-purpose items and using just a dab instead of wasteful amounts. Today, that translates to cutting subscriptions you don't use, eliminating food waste, driving less, living efficiently. Those saved dollars go into hard assets. Thrift gardens became a primary food source. Growing fruits and vegetables saved money and reduced dependency on stores. Today that means starting a side business, learning to code, building digital products, create value you control. In 2008, CFOs who survived lived and breathed hourly cash management. They forecasted weekly cash flow, figured out how to make payroll when maxed out on credit lines. The discipline around cash management and inventory management is what saved businesses. The companies that failed assumed it would be short-term and put in temporary fixes instead of structural changes. The companies that thrived used the crisis to become more efficient, cut costs strategically, and positioned for acceleration coming out of it. Delta Airlines survived by merging with Northwest to add crucial routes, partnering internationally, and cutting fuel costs by hiring oil traders and buying their own refinery, keeping costs 5 to 10 cents per gallon below industry average. That's billions in annual savings. They didn't just survive, they used the crisis to gain competitive advantage. What's your version of that? How can you use this crisis to position yourself ahead of where you were before? 30% of US high net worth individuals are seeking second passports. Portugal's Golden Visa, UAE investor residence, Caribbean citizenship programs. They're not just diversifying assets, they're diversifying sovereignty. When capital controls come, and history shows they always do during currency crises, you need legal access to banking systems in multiple jurisdictions. Opening foreign bank accounts is legal and increasingly necessary. Platforms now offer international brokerage access. Estonia offers e-residency for establishing digital presence in business without physical relocation. Portugal, Malta, Caribbean nations offer citizenship by investment. These aren't just for the super rich anymore. The question is whether you'll act before the escape routes narrow. The ultra-wealthy use structures most people don't know exist. Family offices manage tax strategy, estate planning, global asset allocation. They use trusts to separate legal ownership from beneficial ownership, protecting assets from creditors and future policy changes. Separately managed accounts allow tax loss harvesting on individual positions. Donor-advised funds let you take charitable deductions now while distributing grants over time, reducing tax burden while maintaining control. These aren't secrets. They're just knowledge most people never access. But understanding the structures means you can approximate the strategy at your scale. You don't need millions to buy inflation-protected assets, hold precious metals, or position portfolios defensively. The hardest part isn't the strategy. It's accepting that the system doesn't serve you. Governments exist to perpetuate themselves. When your interests align, you prosper. When they conflict, you pay. Financial repression is that conflict-made policy. Your savings are sacrificed for government debt sustainability. Once you accept that reality, decisions become clearer. You stop optimizing for the system's rules and start optimizing for your outcome. Depression survivors carried lessons for life: patience, persistence, faith, creative problem-solving, and humor. They said to laugh in the face of evil and it will have no power over you. That mental resilience matters more than any financial strategy. You have a window right now. You can still move assets, buy property, precious metals, Bitcoin. You can still open foreign accounts, establish residency abroad, position defensively. That window is open, because infrastructure for complete control isn't finished, but it's closing. Every quarter, more CBDC pilots launch, more beneficial ownership registries, more transaction reporting requirements, more tax information sharing agreements. Each one narrows your options. During the Depression, those who did well depended on family and friends and could be depended on by others. Build those bonds now. Don't wait until economic collapse makes everyone desperate. The people who prepared have time to think clearly. The people who didn't are making panic decisions. The financial reset isn't conspiracy, it's documented policy being implemented by central banks right now. Your government won't warn you that savings will be inflated away. They'll present everything as modernization, efficiency, inclusion. Millions will be caught holding cash and bonds when the reset accelerates. They'll watch purchasing power evaporate and wonder how it happened. Position yourself on the side of assets that rise as currency debases. Build multiple income streams, create geographic diversification, learn skills that were valuable in the Depression. Growing food, fixing things, creating value with your hands. Combine that with modern advantages, remote work, digital products, global markets. The reset will crush millions. But those who understand what's happening and act accordingly won't just survive. They'll thrive. The wealthy prepared years ago. You're seeing it now. That's your advantage. You still have time. The window is measured in months, not years. Not when CBDCs launch and controls activate. By then you're trapped. Now. While the transition is happening but not complete, that's when you move. The only question is which side you'll be on when the reset hits. Make the choice. See you in the next video.